Hello and welcome to the Day There Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka, and you are Data Dudes Nation. Thanks for joining us today. Uh,
Thank
Want
you.
to have a shout out. Want to make a big shout out to all our fans out there who are growing by the day. Thank you for liking, subscribing, hitting that button, sending us some comments. Our interaction has been tremendous. In the recent past, we've been doing some more um, on the field paranormal investigation, and as things open up, we're going to open up that as well. So
Oh,
thanks for
Rocco's gonna
joining us. Was that?
said Rocco's gonna open up all right.
Like the freaking Death Valley. Okay, today we're going to continue our true crime murder series, and we're going to highlight,
14, 15.
yeah, probably seeing at this point, and we're going to highlight now
I think it's 14 actually.
people call the first female serial killer, which is pretty much incorrect. But in recent times, if not one of the most celebrated and glamorized and made a movie out of it, but a female serial killer nonetheless, and that is the one and only Aileen Wuornos,
Yep. So
monster.
he was portrayed by Charlize Theron in the movie Monster, and it's not in comparison to all our other episodes so far. And I'm not trying to make light of this, but the body count, the victims that she had, 7, shows in comparison to a lot of the other previous killers that we've had on the podcast. But we decided to also open up on the other end, knowing full well that obviously it's not only a guy's game as well. It's also you have killers from all ilk, and so yeah. And this is one of like Raka said, one of the more popular ones or notorious ones in recent memory. And there's also a lot of things that could be, that were kind of fishy in within the trial and everything else in her life. So yeah, so taking it from the top, take it away.
All right, Aileen Carol Wuornos, more affectionately called Lee most of the time, born in February 29, 1956, in Michigan. And here's from the very beginning, it's sad, actually, it's tragic. I'm not here to have a bleeding heart crying for, oh, poor Aileen, she killed people. But you can't separate the fact that she was born to teenage parents who were not prepared, who father was abusive, mom was abusive, father went to jail, mom filed for divorce. Uh,
Well, the father was then convicted of rape and attempted murder of a 7-year-old.
and what did the father end up doing at her age 2, I think, or 3, or in prison?
He ended up killing himself in jail. He hanged himself, and he was also diagnosed schizophrenic. So she didn't really know him.
No, and mom was a hot mess too. And she was actually in the care often in her grandmother, who's a raging alcoholic,
Yep.
and her grandfather, who beat her, I believe, with a belt or some other tool.
He also sexually abused her, according to
Right. So she was sexually abused. She was physically abused. She was mentally neglected. Her father committed suicide. Her grandma's a drunk. I'm sorry, so sorry that life has to start out this way. Completely unfair. Because, like they say, you can't grow up straight when you're this crooked from day one. Now,
Yeah.
it can be possible you can be brought back in towards the norm, but man, you talk about damaged goods.
Baraga, we've done what 12, 13 of these, and we always go back. The backstory. Some was terrible. Some are completely freaking normal. I mean, the backstory of the scorecard killer is completely freaking It's almost peachy in comparison to Wournos. And the dude was,
Right. No, I get it. Well, yeah, Pedro, what's his
well, I
name?
mean, I'm not trying to, you know, take the stance and knock her. Well, I kind of am, but it's not an excuse. Her upbringing,
No,
not
I mean,
because
so at age 14, she was raped by an accomplice of her grandfather, no less. Holy cow!
a good friend of her grandfather, in which she ended up being pregnant. She ended up getting pregnant.
She got pregnant, and then she gave up the child to a home for unwed mothers for adoption.
Yeah, here at this point, since her mom had already left her, and her grandma she had passed, and her grandpa used to beat her, and so on and so forth. So her and her brother, and supposedly, again, reports are saying that she also had intimacy with her brother. There are reports of that as well. Now, again, you know, it's all conjectural, hearsay, whatever. But yeah, so she dropped out of school and she started performing sexual favors for drugs and alcohol.
And
And she,
money.
yeah, and more obviously. And she lived in the woods behind the school, right? Or near the school, actually.
I mean, damn.
Yeah,
Talk about damn.
and at this point, she became a full-fledged prostitute to support herself. You got to do what you got to do, obviously, And yeah, so she did that for many years. Now, here is where I want to interject the movie, which I was trying to research the movie as far as the perspective of the story that Patty Jenkins is trying to tell about Aileen, and almost it makes her a sympathetic character, and that all these things have happened to her. And mind you, you don't know her past as the beginning of the film starts. You see her, and she's thinking about killing herself. She's on the side of the road, under like the highway, and thinking about killing herself. And then she's getting all wet, and she goes into a bar. That's where she meets, in the movie Selby. But obviously, Selby did not exist. Because her
Uh,
ex girlfriend, which Rocco will go into more detail, she didn't want to be part of the movie. So go with that.
Taria Moore, who she did meet at a lesbian bar in Daytona Beach. Um, all accounts from both sides, they hit it off from jump. They they had chemistry, instant love, whatever you want to call it.
At first sight.
It appears, yeah. I mean, it appears it was real. It was on both sides. It gets more tragic as the conviction, the trial, and everything plays out, and where things ended up leading. I think to her very last day, Aileen still holds the fact that she still loves her, despite being done in. I mean, on the stand, lured into a confession, which is almost like entrapment. But we'll get into that as soon as we roll into that.
Yeah, even in the film, I mean, obviously the film it's supposed to be supposed to be her, but they had to make up a new character. So a lot of similarity between both characters and the stuff that transpired. I mean, not the same, but the big plot points seem to be one and the same. And yeah, it's you can't help but feel bad. Now, previous to her meeting um, her ex, she was married previously in 1976. She met and married Louis Gretz Fell, a 69-year-old yacht club president. Okay, and here is an interesting part or a focal point in the whole story of Wournos, because they used to get into lots of fights, lots of arguments, and she assaulted him, in which he took out a restraining order on her. Okay, she assaulted him. It's not funny. Assaulted him with his own walking cane, and she was arrested for assault. Now, this will go into things later on because she, has a record, and which would eventually lead to her downfall later on. But
I mean, she has a litany of a rap sheet
oh,
from robbery, prostitution, aggravated assault, DWI, you name it, in and out of the jail system.
she full package.
Yeah, I mean, you're alluding to then now, her brother who died of esophageal cancer, and she got some money out of it, but it doesn't help her life. She's still a wreck. She had divorced from the old guy, which, by the way, she hitchhiked her way from Michigan to Florida.
Yep.
So if you guys want to pop up Google Maps and check that out.
And and this wasn't your regular hitchhiking, because obviously her being a prostitute,
she performed her way for travel.
It probably took a while for her to get down there, to Florida. So yeah, Michigan.
I mean, you're talking about a huge rap sheet
to Florida, all the way down there. So yeah.
So
the really messed up thing is her first murder. Okay, her first victim, Richard Mallory, a piece of shit convicted rapist himself. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, if you've seen the movie, and obviously it's a movie, so we don't really know what exactly happened. We're just getting an account from Wournos herself and whatever is made up in Hollywood. But the dude was all kinds of a piece of shit, and raped her and was about to kill her when she escaped, and she ended up killing him. In classic self-defense. Now, what is mind-boggling to me, and maybe Rocco can shed some light on this later on, or she ended up going down for that murder.
She claims that it was self-defense, and
self-defense.
We have no.
Guys,
this is not just where, but it begins. And again, we had no shame with really dispatching our just complete amazement at the California penal and justice system.
Here we go with Florida.
We now turn our attention to Florida, where we have to say huge capital WTF. This guy's a convicted rapist. Now, we're not here to judge. I'm not judging anything. We don't judge anybody in the sense that she is a sex worker.
But that doesn't. Okay, her being a sex worker has nothing to do with this, to be honest.
Right. There's.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's the oldest profession in the book. I mean, yes, it's not something you want to do, but I mean,
right.
Honest work. Okay.
There's payment for services, and exactly. anyone who's ever in this field, you're crystal clear what those services are.
Of course.
And so let's say it doesn't include actual active sex, and it could be other things and payment structure, whatever it is, but no means no. And again, this is why I'm not judging, but this is just the insight to it all. This is why there's pimps. This is why there's pagers, there's cell phones, there's guys waiting outside, there's guys in the place, there's monitored stuff.
Yes. Yeah, you can't
just do whatever. Oh, here's $50. Now I can do whatever I want. I could even get physical. I can even beyond get physical and maybe threaten your life. No. So I'm looking at both sides here where she does have the right, no matter what the contractual deal was, she has the right to defend herself. Did that in fact happen this way where she defended herself and then it triggered a whole slew of pent up rage from a lifetime of being abused? And it just opened the lid.
Depending on which side of the fence you lean on, depending on what you think or how you view her story. Because again, I repeat myself again, we're getting one side of the story.
Right.
One of the side of the story through letters that she wrote, through interviews, through all this. Now, of course, as later on you'll see, she changed her tune.
She changed it a couple times.
On trial and afterwards, and admitted to everything. So
now,
was
again,
she not lying? Was she distraught about losing her ex? That because that's something else.
What is interesting is as you detail the consequential, the sequential murders that follow. It's not 2 bullets alone. It's like 6 shots to the head. It's like unloading the entire rounds.
Yeah.
It's there's not self-defense. Bah, 1 shot, I'm running away. She takes their cars.
And she robs them.
She pawns off their possessions. They pop up in different pawn shops. She sells their stuff. So I would just say it doesn't really, it's all academic. The way the story unfolds, she has some consistencies and then she is off the rails. She's almost like classic bipolar. But if it did in fact happen that way, where she had enough is enough and she defended herself, because she's not the only prostitute to carry a piece.
Of course, but she also picked and choose who she wanted to hurt and who she did not want to hurt. Again,
it's middle-aged men, middle-aged older white men, basically. But that first guy, like you said, and I don't want to tangent too much because I am tangent too much from the legal aspect of all, is that murder is murder. It was self-defense, but I mean, what did she get out of that? She was still let out. She was still.
No, she actually, what she ended up freaking getting was she went on trial for the murder on 14th, 1982. Under Florida's Williams rule, the prosecution was allowed to present evidence from Wournos' previous crimes during the trial. Oh, Florida. In order to show a pattern of illegal activity. And she was found guilty of his murder, and she was sentenced to death 4 days later. So she went to death for killing a piece of shit rapist. Okay.
Yeah, so Florida has
Whether
this extreme
self-defense or not, we don't know.
Well, and then you have, again, we documented so many cases of, if you had to rank them, they're more heinous in their atrocities than Aileen, and they get to live off their lives in prison. Some still currently on death row in prison, 20, 30 years behind bars, taxpayers' money funding their medical, legal, food, stomach, 3 hots in a cot, everything, with millions and millions of dollars in appeal money.
Guys, like you said, there's guys who died before they got executed, who've been there for decades. Okay.
Well, okay, so now let me ask you this question in our profile.
Night Stalker died in custody before he even got, he even got
there's several still on the
and on.
Samuel Little died in custody at 80,
Well,
plus.
he's like, is it because all the good old boys and everything? Not hey, obviously I'm gonna get some a little bit of hate from this, but is it because she's a woman?
I mean, justice acted so swift in this case, maybe because she's a woman, and it's an atrocity that X number of men who committed worse crimes. I mean, you're talking about body counts in the 50s, 60s. The butcher Baker in Alaska. I mean, you're talking about he 67 plus. You talk about the scorecard killer 60 plus, and they're allowed to live. So let me ask you this question, as this occurred to me in our investigation of the backstory of Aileen Wuornos, is that we have a bevy of serial killers that we have investigated that showed nothing but premeditation.
Right.
I really don't see that here, or maybe I'm mixing premeditation with a well thought out plan. Because carrying a piece with you and going out and sticking your thumb out to go track them down, if that amounts to premeditation, that's very, very skimpy.
Well, look again, and I hate to keep bringing back up the movie, but it just from what from what I've read and researched or whatever. After a while, once she already killed the first guy, and she had told, I keep forgetting her ex-girlfriend,
Tyra Moore.
and they needed money, so she originally did not want to go back to
Hitchhiking.
to yeah to hooking, and she kind of forced herself to do it. So she went there on a purpose to what?
Right. Now, so that's why, in that sense, there's premeditation because she did carry a piece with her and she had already killed.
Oh, I just meant to rob them. Shit went sideways. They attacked me, and this happened.
Kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy or living in some kind of denial, but in the back of your head, you're itching for it to go sideways.
Exactly.
Almost picking the most ruthless, heinous person, and I'm going to use that line to give me a reason.
There's a part when the guy goes, oh, okay, he's like, oh, can you please can you call me daddy when you do? And she's like, oh, what are you, one of those piece of shit pedophiles? And he's like, what? He was like, and then she kind of caught it that, oh shit, no, I didn't mean that. I'm just kidding around, man. I'm just kidding around, whatever. And then she justified in her mind after she killed him that he was a pedophile.
That's what I'm looking for. She justified all of these.
Exactly.
I mean, no, the horrible thing is she had an outstanding warrant, right? And then when she was finally caught, they had what's her name? Tyra had moved on or left or split, but they had caught her in Pennsylvania, right. And then they being the police, threatened to implicate her in these murders, either as collusion or she knew about them or something.
It's like classic freaking what's what I'm looking for?
Plea.
Freaking setup 101, where we have the poor girl, they have her ex call her and kind of set her up on the phone,
wires and everything, to get a confession, and she eventually does get a callback and gets the confession, and she confessed to all of it. This is where I have to say there's a little bit of sympathy that does go out, because the phone call.
She did it all. She took the hit.
But she's so sympathetic that she did it for them. She did it for the money. She did it to rob them. She did it in self-defense. She mentions all these things, to be honest, while unbeknownst to her, she's being taped.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever look for a real, legit confession, and the last thing you think is that the love of your life is setting you up.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm sorry. I'm not. She killed and she got killed. So I'm not bleeding. I'm not bleeding for her. But
They
But
mentioned that she figured out that she was being set up, and did she, she knew the road was over. It was done. Took the hit, kept in the clear, and it's just crazy. I mean, because after that, after she reneges, she fought for so many years while in prison that that it was self-defense, that she didn't kill these people for what they thought. Then one day, she just freaking petitioned the Supreme Court to allow her to fire her legal counsel and stop the appeal because they were appealing it.
yeah. Well, one of the legal counsel actually was interviewed. Very few people wanted to talk, but was interviewed, and he had come out and said she had a very sincere conversation with him, pleading him to stop.
But why?
She had admitted, and I know she waxes and wanes, but she had admitted that first she thought it was all conspiracy. First, that she thought the police, the investigators, the lawyers, everybody, they wanted to sensationalize her life and death. That they were going to get movie rights, book rights, everything, and everybody's going to cash in on her tragic story, but her. And she didn't want to go on trial anymore, and she didn't want to talk anymore, and everything she said was already said and done, and that she's been disgusted by
Right.
already. Right, but she raised the white flag. She raised the white flag and said, basically, I'm done. I don't want to go through this again. Not one more day. Let's get it on. That's the one difference I would say between her and those whole California serial killers who maintain their innocence and denial forever. And freaking Charles Ang with the most expensive court case in California, still alive. She raised that white flag. She threw in the towel and said, you convicted me. I can't fight City Hall. I don't want to fight City Hall. This life sucks. I'll see you in the next one, like Independence Day.
I mean, and again, I'm not.
No, she's a little bit off the rails.
But yeah, but check this out. Look at this. All right.
Yes. You guys said the quote.
I killed those men, robbed them as cold as ice, and I do it again too. I do it again too. There's no chance in keeping me alive or anything because I'd kill again. I'd have hate crawling through my system. I am so sick of hearing this, quote unquote, she's crazy stuff. I've been evaluated so many times. I'm competent, sane, and I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm one who seriously hates human life and would kill again. Okay? Then the other quote, which we were talking about before, after she got her last meal, KFC, by the way.
And coffee.
And coffee, quote unquote. Yes, I would like to say I'm sailing. I'm sailing with the rock, and I'll be back, like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie. Big mothership and all. I'll be back. I'll be back. Suffice to say she wasn't back.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. So, unlike, there's a lot of differences here between the other serial killers and her. Unlike them, when you got to when you got to the nitty gritty, she took ownership of the murders.
Yeah.
She said, "We're not going to play this game any longer. We're not going to sensationalize. We're not going to make OJ.
Exactly.
We're done." Actually, I kind of give her more credit than any of these assholes.
Exactly what I was pointing you at.
Yeah, I give her more credit than those assholes. Where she's like, you know what?
The one.
Aim right here and don't miss.
Exactly. The one fucking person
Chip
out of
balls.
14, 15 that we've researched, that we've done already, that actually owned up to it. And that
Those are coward bastard motherfuckers. And this tortured soul took ownership of her actions and said, Don't delay. Let's
And
do it.
talking about she owned up to it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, you caught me. Now I have to admit.
No,
Because yeah, Samuel Little, yeah, he admitted to everything. Yeah, I could, whatever. And Night Stalker, he was batshit out of his mind, and that, he was.
freaking pentagram and all the satanic stuff. So she maintains her love for her love of her life, her girlfriend Tyra Moore, who betrayed her. Her parents betrayed her. Her father betrayed her. Her grandparents. Everyone on planet Earth betrayed her, damaged her, abused her, threatened her. She fought back, and I'm understanding. I'm not sympathetic, but I'm understanding that a person like this, when she fights back, can't pump the brakes.
Yeah, look,
And
exactly.
I mean, if it's one time thing because the guy went way too far than what was agreed to, I get that. I totally get that. If it was a one time thing and you defend yourself and you kill the scumbag.
Well, what about the other six? The other six, I mean, it's just okay. You had a psychotic break, and then you going crazy after that.
Yeah, no, you're a psycho. You're a serial killer,
You
man.
already had the predisposition of doing that, and you just started liking the bloodlust, and that's it.
Now, to quickly switch back to the movie, I will say that Charlize Theron's performance is stellar. Her transformation to really embrace the role and become that person was outstanding. I understand the director and the writer's point of view to kind of humanize the story. Of course, it's Hollywood, so they're going to alter and change a few things. But for me, it was a little slowly paced. And I can't, as a horror hound fan, I can't throw this in the same category as horror movies. It's almost like a drama, which again, I'm not disparaging it. I'm not criticizing. I'm not going to take away the star rating from it because of that, but it's a whole different movie than Hannibal Lecter, than a Gacy movie, than Ted Bundy's series on Netflix, than other documentaries or mockumentaries or movies of this ilk. It's a different animal, and it got its praise, and rightfully so. But I just think it was a little slow pacing, a little for my. I know I'm gonna take a lot of flack because everybody loves this movie. It was a little slow paced. And
No, well, I mean, you think they're gonna take flack from you? They're gonna get ready for the hate mail with me. So,
let it roll.
I'm a huge fan of Charlize Theron as an
Huge. I mean, you got a tattoo on her. I won't tell people where.
as an actress, and also, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. Suffice to say, and yeah, the transformation she did, but even beyond that, like you said, she really jumped into this role. And in an interview with the director Patty Jenkins, she sought out Charlize Theron, and she was looking at actresses, and we're like, I don't know, because Kate Winslet was in the running for this, as well as her Charlize Theron, and I can't remember who else, but like 3 or 4 actresses that were like vying for the role. And director, once Kate Winslet didn't get it, obviously, Theron was there. She was like, "Oh, why'd you pick me?" And the director said, "Because I could probably beat all those chicks up, but I'm not sure I could take you." And that was one of the reasons why, Well, look, I mean, Wournos was 5'4" in real life, and Charlize is 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So now, you know, besides that, yes, the movie was slow paced, and it was more of a
It was a very intense drama. It was very
so disturbing. Like everybody makes it.
deep.
It wasn't that over the top. But yes, the story is to a degree sad and heartbreaking to an extent as well. But I've seen worse movies. I mean, like people have gone through worse stuff, fictionalized or whatever, or otherwise. And yeah, I mean, it's Hollywood version. Oh my God, because of Charlize, and what drives me crazy because and everyone asked her a million times, and I bet she was, how did it feel to make yourself look ugly for the role, which is what everyone was looking at, and that kind of also stuck in your craw. And I'm like, nah, man. So I think her portrayal of the role was better than the movie in itself. How about
I
that?
agree. I think her performance was stellar, Academy Award worthy, everything. The movie itself, it just really wasn't my thing.
No, it was. I mean, I saw me. That's why bro, I didn't see it for see bits and pieces of it for so many years, and then when we were coming up to do this episode, I said, you know what,
We gotta check it out because it
watch it
was.
again or watch it in entirety, and that's why it's fresh in my mind.
But you know, a lot of these movies, like it escapes my brain, but the movie made um from the Butcher Baker with
Frozen Ground, I think. Frozen Ground.
you know, I
Frozen.
I hear echoes of the same sentiment where Hollywood made a Hollywoodization, if that's a word, of of the movie, of the character, and then you have to make these subplots and sympathetic and both sides and all stuff. When let's call it what it is. It's a horror movie played out in real life.
Yeah.
There's no sympathy here. Ed Gein's a clown selling to kids, abusing, raping them. Jeffrey Dahmer picks and chooses these young boys and kills them and keeps them in jars and eats them. There's no sympathetic, deep, heartfelt point of view. He's a sick mofo.
Some of
And
the most notorious movies of all time have been based off this one guy, which we're definitely gonna do him real soon. I mean, and check this Chainsaw Massacre. You have freaking Psycho. Go on and on and on. I mean, this was legitimately terrifying stuff. And Hollywood is just because you gotta do what they gotta do.
Ted Bundy. And they make a whole series of Ted Bundy, and Ted Bundy arguably is one of the highest highest levels of sociopaths, where he turns on his charming persona like a flip of a switch and then kills you the same way with the same switch. I mean, he's cold, calculating murderer with zero regret, remorse. You're
Yeah.
talking about he's kind of like an automated killing machine, you know, and he had great looks and he had a logical sequencing mindset to execute, plot, hunt, and get away with it. So I'm just saying, um, again, we're going to take a lot of flack for our hits on the movie itself, not on Charlize, and I want that to be crystal clear. She's phenomenal. She always will be phenomenal. But I guess that wraps up the actual true life tragedy of one Aileen Lee Wournos.
Exactly. Only the 10th woman to be executed in America is 1976, and the second woman in Florida.
Well, yeah, that's your last tidbit about Florida. So if you're gonna be a serial killer and you want to do it in California, do not do it in Florida or
And
Texas.
don't be a lady serial killer. So
Ooh, boy. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this very different take, but a serial killer nonetheless, on Aileen Wuornos. Hope you like and subscribe. Smash that button. Give us feedback. We love talking to you guys. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Tell us what you want to hear more of. We've already gotten a lot of interaction from fans out there. Keep it up. And again, as soon as things open up, and I am glad to open wide, we will open up wide everything. Dead Dudes will come to a local place near you. Exactly. All right. Save the whales. I'm Raka.
I'm Izzy. Take care, guys. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the flip side.